everyone, and welcome to Lesbian Talk, episode 69. Very sexily brought to you by the fact that Omega and Hagen are in the same room on a bed. With one wet pussy. Who we just dried because he was out in the rain for about 12 hours.
Yeah, we think he went, out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I made all these comments about him looking to the west and hoping Omega would come, so my guess is that he tried to find America and he got bored after about 6 hours and came home.
Probably, yeah.
I got a cat passport.
Cat passport. So, you're going to have to excuse... I know we said we were going to do a best of episode, but we're actually probably going to do that next week because we're going to be in England.
Yeah, the entire weekend. That one will be delayed again as well. But it's not going to be recorded till Monday.
Don't tell Doug Walker, who apparently, not him, but the nostalgia critic is the person that decides who does what.
Yeah, did you guys hear this? It was the nostalgia critic, famed fictional character, who told me to review Doctor Who stuff and told Nash not to.
I know, right?
Some guy on That Guy with the Glasses commented it must be true.
Mm-hmm. And then somebody said in one of the Skype chats that I was in that it would really suck if that was the case, because then the nostalgia critic would be like, you're now reviewing Antiques Roadshow. Get to it. What I do? Get to it. Oh.
That would be hilarious in many ways.
It would. I forget who said it.
That's going to be like, me reviewing Equestria Girls, which I'm totally going to do probably in December.
But anyway.
I'm having a custom pony plushie made for this.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
But, okay, this is more of a traditional way of episode. We're going to have the first bit, which is going to be way shorter than usual because Omega's tired. We're just going to talk about
things and
visa, getting over here, information for that, traveling, moving to another country, that sort of information.
The first bit of information that is the most important is never fly out of Newark, New Jersey. Ever. Ever. Go down to Philly. I know it sucks. Go down to DC or BWI. Even JFK probably would be better.
So give us an overview without saying anything that any legal governments would find objectionable about how you ended up sitting in this room in Northern Ireland, ready to start university.
Well, pretty much, I got in this morning, so if I'm not as witty as usual, that's why. So this whole thing started yesterday around noon, because that's when we left the Philly metro area. It only took us 2 hours to get to Newark, which we were worried because there'd be short traffic and stuff like that. But the downside to wanting to leave early so we could get there is that I then had about 7 to 8 hours in the airport.
The last time I had 7 to 8 hours in an airport, it was also because of an old man who was occasionally angry. But a very different one in a different country.
Pretty much. Oh yeah, you had that epic layover.
Yeah. One of those times going to Canada, where I had to get the 11 o'clock bus to Dublin, and then wait in Dublin Airport for 5 hours, and then I had to get a flight to Heathrow, wait in Heathrow for 8 to 9 hours, and then I had to do a flight to Canada. That was fun.
In case you were wondering, that's really typical of how you would fly with PME. At the last second, and God knows where.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got there, and my father drove me because I couldn't obviously drive my car and leave it there.
You could try, just be stupid.
Well, yeah, and my whole family is going out to Utah on Monday for my sister's wedding, which is next weekend.
You're going to be at the theme park.
I am. I'm actually going to be at a British theme park while my sister's getting married, but that's okay. She didn't come to my wedding, so.
Yeah, there's probably some sort of fake America land that you can be all like, I'm totally in Utah, just Photoshop me into the wedding photos.
Fake America land. But yeah, so it was a hassle at Newark because we ended up at the wrong terminal, and I have two huge suitcases, or a huge suitcase and a huge duffel bag, which has got pretty much, hopefully, everything I'm going to need for at least the next year. And I had a small carry-on, and I had, those old CD binders that you would have? Well, they still make them, apparently. I have one that holds 500, and it has all of my DVDs in it.
It's bigger than my head.
So I weighed it. It's about 18 pounds of DVDs.
About a foot tall and about 3/4 of a foot wide.
Yeah, it's nearly a foot square. It's actually sitting at my feet right now.
Yeah.
But I paid $25 for it on Amazon, and I have to say it didn't break under pressure, so that's something good at least. So then we had to. The guy that did the baggage check was so passive aggressive and nasty, and of course, my dad was like, "What the hell is this?" And so he was like, "Oh, well, this one's like a few pounds over." And so I was like, "Oh crap." My dad's like, "Well, what does that mean?" He's like, "An extra $200." He's like, "What? What? This is highway robbery." And I was like, "Dad, I'll just take it out of one bag and put it to the other." So then that bag was like 3 pounds over, and he was going nuclear. So I just took two of the books out, and I said, "Here, these are about 4 pounds. Just mail them to me tomorrow, because I have. They're also mailing me something else."
These are gaming books.
No. One was this book about writing, and the other was the hardcover Victorian Pharmacy,
Oh,
which I thought, well, maybe if I can find it cheap on Amazon.co.uk, I'll just buy a new copy. But it was not to be. It was like 14 pounds. So,
that would actually probably be cheaper than mailing it.
well, they're sending something anyway.
Okay.
So anyway, so yeah, and this then I had to go through security, and apparently Newark is one of those places that swabs your hands for, I don't know, residue, bomb residue, whatever it is. And so the guy behind me was like, "Ha ha, free service. I didn't know you gave Purell, ha ha ha," and he was nice. And like the TSA guy looked at him like, "Are you fucking kidding me, asshole?" And he goes, "Sarah, palms out." And they don't fuck around, TSA, and they're TSA from Jersey too. So there was all these signs that said you can leave your tablets and small electronics in your bag, but you have to take your laptop out. So I started to take my laptop out, and there's a guy standing there, the TSA agent, and he's like, "What are you doing? You don't have to take your laptop out." And I said, but the sign said you did." And so there was a woman customer who was behind me, and she walked past me, like, cut in line, and goes, "No, it didn't." And I was like, "Hey, bitch." But I couldn't think of a snappy comeback, because I was trying to do all this stuff quickly, and apparently for this line, you just didn't get trays. So, like, people were, taking their coats off and stuff like that. The guy's like, "Don't take anything off. Don't take anything out of your pockets. Phones or wallets on the thing." But, like, it was so horrible. So I put my phone and my wallet in my boots.
It seemed to have their rules being randomized in New Jersey, which sounds about right for New Jersey, from what I've heard.
Pretty much. So I finally get through that, and I'm dragging my stuff like a homeless person out to the bench so I can put my shoes back on.
The homeless people of airports.
I know, right?
Such a scourge on airports.
So I'm doing that, and there's a little teeny kid with his mom who had just come around from the other station, and we're heading towards the terminal gates. And look, he goes, "Well, Mommy, why do people work at an airport?" And what I really wanted to say, and I would if I thought I could get away with it, was I really wanted to say, well, son, poor lifestyle choices. But I didn't know if the mom would freak out on me or laugh, so I just.
I think airports are like extra dimensional places that don't really exist in the real
The
world.
thing is that I know somebody who, somebody I used to work with at my fourth bookstore, and she's a trained pastry chef, and she couldn't find work that wasn't, working at the bakery of a grocery store. So she passed the training, and now she's a flight attendant.
Hmm.
And flight attendants are awesome. I mean, when I say, the people that work in airports are mean and hate me, I'm obviously not including that one fan of yours who works for the TSA. And
yeah, that was fun meeting him.
Yeah. But so then, my flight was delayed an hour, so we finally boarded at like 10 of 10. And then we flew across the ocean. There was a lot of turbulence too. You know what? It was we were flying over Canada. Once we cleared Canada and got over the Atlantic. Well, no, because of the Gulf Stream, She's making a face. You guys can't see, but she totally is.
And the Icelandic volcano god was nice to you.
Yeah. Well, it did start erupting yesterday, but it was a lava eruption on the other side of where the glacier is. And so they were hoping that would be enough to either vent pressure, or it means that the magma is changing chambers and it will explode explosively. Apparently, the Icelandic government is kind of annoyed about it because it's what they call a quote-unquote tourist explosion, because it's slow-moving magma, not explosive ash and, water and stuff like that. But it's so far away, it's in too remote of an area for tourists to come and look at it. I swear I read this on the Icelandic news.
You know how many people live in Iceland?
Not a lot, really.
Actually, not many more than live in Derek.
Yeah. Well, it's small. I know that Reykjavik is their government. CCP, the company that bought out White Wolf, and does EVE Online, they're based out of Iceland. I didn't know, but yeah. So then, I mean, the flight itself was good. It wasn't very cold or anything, and but I tweeted this, and I actually haven't checked Twitter since this was my last tweet, and no one's heard from me since. But I was nearly in a what the fuck is wrong with you situation.
Yeah.
So I I spent less on the flight than I thought that I would. And you guys can't see it, but there's a cat that's like stretched out in the bed, and she's fuzzy, and now she's been lifted up, and now she's right in front of the camera, and now she's crawling back to the place where she had been sitting. But so because I got my plane ticket for less, I had the option to upgrade to Economy Plus. So I did that because it was right after first class, and I thought, well, if I do that, I'll get a little bit of extra room, which actually turned out to be a lot of extra room, and hopefully I'll get to board earlier. So it won't be one of those things where they're like, oh, everybody already used up all the overhead space, so you have to gate check all the stuff that you didn't want to gate check. So yeah.
I've had to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about, and I was like, but it'll be fine. But I still ended up in the last boarding group because that's how it goes. So I was sitting down, and fortunately, the guy had the window seat, but the middle seat was clear, so we could pile all our stuff there and have extra elbow room, and that was great. But the row directly across from me, there was a guy in the middle and a guy at the window seat. So the flight attendant comes over to him and to the guy at the window seat. He goes, "Sir, can I see your boarding pass, please?" Like, just nice. And this was a really nice flight attendant because he let me a pen later on. And the guy had some kind of vague European accent, but he had a British passport. He says, "Why do you need to see it?" And he's like, "Oh, I just need to see it really quick." And he's like, "Well, why?" And he's like, "Sir, I just need to check your boarding pass." "Well, what? Well, you can't have it. You can't see it. Why do you need it?" And he's like, "Because I don't believe that you're sitting in the correct seat, sir." He's like, "I'm sitting here." And the, the flight attendant's like, "Yeah, I understand that, but I don't believe that this is the seat you purchased. Let me see your boarding pass." "Well, why do you need to see it? I'm sitting here." And that goes on for like a few minutes. And so the flight attendant goes and gets the head flight attendant. And she's like, "Well, sir, you have to pay extra to sit here. You're going to have to pay an extra $130. So charge me." As if like she has his credit card number like memorized. And she says, "Well, sir, if you didn't purchase this seat, you have to go sit in the seat that you purchased." And so the guy next to him, who is not traveling with him, has got this look on his face. And so they confer for a while, and then they go back up to the front of economy, and they start talking with a guy, sitting in passenger. And then the passenger stands up, and he's this huge guy, and I realize, oh shit, he's not a passenger. It's an air marshal. And I'm having visions of this guy fighting the air marshal, and they'll have to get the police on. They're going to delay the flight by 2 hours. I take this guy out in cuffs. But finally, he's like, "I don't know why you were making me move, because I was just sitting where I was sitting." And he finally moved back to wherever he came from. But that was when they were making the announcement, "Please turn off all your devices." So the last thing I tweeted was, "It's about to be what the fuck is wrong with the situation? I'll take notes. Bye." And I haven't checked Twitter since. It's been like 24 hours. So
At least no one had a knee defender.
yeah, that's true. Well, when we got off in Belfast, the two Irish guys behind me were talking about that incident.
I'm totally on the with that knee defender story. I'm with the person who had the knee defender because
I agree, but here's the thing though. If the FAA has said it's up to individual carriers,
yeah,
and if the carrier bans it, you really have to go with it.
Yeah, if the carrier decides that it's then that's the rule. But having lived with people who are as tall as me or even taller than me, crushing my legs.
Yeah.
Which has happened on several flights for the entire time. I am totally on the guy's side because he didn't want his legs crushed.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because, freakishly tall people are people too.
Well, you would have liked where I was sitting because not only was I in Economy Plus, but I got a few more inches because I was in the emergency thing. So I had to give my verbal confirmation of the flight attendant that in the event of emergency, I would assist crew and passengers.
Yeah. In the event of emergency, I'll totally break this guy's leg off and use it as a club in order to save you against the gremlins.
Although I do have to say that there had been a family with a small child who was shrieking at the top of her lungs for hours and hours at the gate, and they actually left on a different flight. And the people in front of me, I didn't even realize that they had a small child with them until about a half hour before landing. And it was a kid who, based on his height and size and everything, but also on his behavior, I believe he was special needs. Because he, looked like he was about 4 or 5, but he was nonverbal, and he kept making he kept making repeating syllables and stuff like that, so it sounded like he was trying to soothe himself. But he was very well behaved. I really didn't even realize he was there.
That's cool.
Yep.
So sounds like a semi-interesting journey.
That's my story, everyone. Aren't you excited? Well, then I got see this was the good part. So I got to customs, and in Dublin,
Belfast.
no, but I'm saying in Dublin, basically at the time when the U.S. flights come in, there's usually one from Philly, one from New York, and one from Boston. That all arrive at about the same time. So you end up in this massive, massive hall, where you can't use your phone, you can't use anything. You're in these the whole room is divided up by the strap line dividers, and you're just this one big labyrinth thing. While the EU people, with a skip and a click of their heels, just kind of scan their passport through the EU one and waltz off into life.
We're from the EU.
They're
we're from the EU.
Isn't like Ode to Joy the one for the EU?
There's a reason it's an ode
we
to joy.
We are from the EU. We don't have to wait in your line. But anyway, so I was like,
indeed.
So then, but in Belfast, it's just like this kind of tiny room that's part of the corridor with like carpeting and everything and windows.
Yeah, I figured we sound like that.
And the EU line was all big and huge, and there was like only a few non-EU people who were all Americans.
There's only one person dealing with everyone, so you put all you guys first.
Well, there were 3 agents.
Oh, okay.
So they had 2 doing the EU people and 1 doing non-EU people. So yeah, and the guy was like, "Oh, you're flying alone then?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "All right, we'll go up." And so the guy was like, "What you here for?" But with an accent, but I'm not gonna try to do the accent. And I was like, "For study, sir. And here's my visa." And he's like, "Well, that's nice. Where are you studying?" It's the University of Ulster and McGee, sir. "Oh, what are you studying there?" "Psychology, sir." "Oh, that's lovely," says this UK border agent to me, and I'm like, "Yeah." So he took my fingerprints on his thingy and stamped my passport, and it took like literally 4 minutes from getting in line to getting out. And I was like, "Woohoo!"
See, it's the UK border one, but it's still part of Ireland, so.
I know, but it was just.
It's like the local niceness.
Yeah, like I'm used to the border agents that used to when Dublin Airport was just the U.S. gates were a little bit different, and it wasn't TSA agents that had gone native. It was like the full deal. "All right, ma'am, what are you doing?" "I'm going home, sir." "You're from Maryland?" "Yes, sir." "All right, fine. Welcome back into the country."
Well, those ones, they don't really much call to talk to you very much and have interacting back and forth with you, because they just get very basic stuff with you. With me, they have to ask me a lot of questions, and I can only think of one time when I had a bad time.
Well, that's good at least.
Although one of the times where it could have easily gone bad was him randomly asking me, he's like, "Okay, you're going over there for non-business stuff. You're coming back within about 3 weeks. Are you gonna get married?" And I was like, "Actually, yes." I was like, "And you're coming back after 3 weeks. Is your partner coming with you?" "No." "Why not?" "Because we live separately. Because neither of us have been able to emigrate to the other country.
We're gay. Sorry, sir."
I had to actually mention this. "Why don't you move there? Why don't they move here? Because of financial reasons. Why don't you move there? Because at this point, DOMA was still active. It's like because of DOMA. What's DOMA?" I was like,
well, when we were coming back into the country by train from Canada, and you had to go off and do the thing, yeah, the guy asked me, he's like, "Well, are you going to move there?" "I can't, sir. I can't afford it yet." "Well, is she going to move here?" "No, sir. It's not allowed. I can't sponsor her for immigration." "Well, why not?" "The Defensive Marriage Act, sir. It's still federal." He's like, oh, I didn't know that." And I'm like, "You're a border agent. How the fuck can you not know that?" And he's like, then he says, "Well, that really sucks. Gee, fella."
It's these wonderful moments when people who are not affected by the shit that a minority get, whenever they suddenly realize, and it's like, oh, maybe the crying minority have a point. Well, I didn't realize they have it palpably worse.
He was cool because he's like, "Are you bringing any food into the country?" Now, I had just eaten the Kinder Egg, before we left Montreal Station because I can't bring that over the border. And I said, "Oh, no, sir." And he goes, "What's this?" And I forgot that the half-dozen Tim Horton donuts that you were like, "Let's get 6 donuts because of course we'll eat them."
I'm sorry we didn't finish them.
Yeah. And so I was like, "Oh, shoot, I forgot about them. Yeah, do you want one? I mean, if they're contraband, we don't need to have them. You can have them." He's like, "That's okay, I already ate." He was nice. I like that guy.
Well, he sounds nice. But, okay, we're 19 minutes in. So, we're going to talk about Into the Dalek. We're not doing the other things because Omega is way too tired.
I'm so exhausted, and Giovanni is actually with us. He's up on a cabinet right now and looks like he's sleeping.
He's like, "Hi, Gargo." He doesn't like heights.
"I heard that. I'm never sleeping. It just looks like I am."
keeping myself in a state of cat-like readiness. I'm being influenced by Pippa
Well,
and Mary.
also the fact that there are two cats in this room, and I'm a crustacean, so even though with the claws and the exoskeleton I would win, it's just not going to be pretty.
So we watched Into the Dalek today, and my prediction.
Into the Dalek.
My prediction from last week stands. That I would complain less about this one.
I liked it. I thought it was a good episode. Like, I know. Okay, so again, spoilers. But this is not going up for.
It's a remake of Dalek.
Yeah, but it emphasized different things. Like Dalek was very powerful because it was closer to the original story it was based off of, the audio drama Jubilee, and that was very much a Ninth Doctor episode.
Mm-hmm.
But this emphasized different things. Now, one of the things that I didn't like, I know that what's his face, the other teacher is going to become a companion because I heard it on the news. I don't know. I'm not liking him. Maybe it's just
they were being very unsubtle.
Yeah, maybe like we've only seen like a few, just him in a few scenes and in one context. But I'm like, really, dude, you are not gonna hack at the TARDIS. I mean, and that's kind of not fair. I mean, for Christ's sake, Adric hacked it in the TARDIS, but I'm like, dude. I mean, and I'm sure obviously we're gonna learn that he has PTSD. He was a soldier. He probably shot and killed a civilian like by accident or something like that, which is fine. But I don't know. I'm just not feeling his charisma. I hope that maybe he gets better on that.
Well, I don't think he's in 3, but he's in 4.
All right. Well,
I think that's where he becomes companion.
She's like, I'm gonna totally ask her out for drinks. On the TARDIS.
Now, the fact that this was basically a remake of Dalek, admittedly one that took liberties, that's fine because I was thinking about it. Dalek was 9 years ago, and
that's a good point.
The main audience, the main audience that Doctor Who seeks in the UK is kids between 6 and about 12. So there's going to be no kid who was in that group at the start who was in that group now.
That's a good point.
So it's a complete new generation of viewers. It's perfect. It's fine to remake it. Obviously, after that age, you've got like the peripheral extra groups who watch Doctor Who, the nerds who continue watching it regardless of their age. You've got the people who get back into it later on. You've got parents. The show tries to have something for everything, and obviously international audiences, it's become like really like a teenage / college age sort of hip show, which is rather weird considering.
But yeah, it was good. I like their use of the shrinking technology because it's the first time I've seen that used where it actually felt like, okay, this is kind of possible. Where they're like, are you excited? Yeah. Why? This is going to be really dangerous. You could die in the process. Oh, yeah, there's that.
It's like The Invisible Enemy, which was a Tom Baker story where him and Leela, they created clones of themselves that had like a 1 hour lifespan. And they had all their original memories and stuff, and they believed they were them, but they're like, you're going to die in an hour. Shrink them, put them inside the Doctor's brain to try and kill a sentient virus that was in his brain.
Wow.
And then, get out of the body before they expand to the normal size and then die.
Well, there was a moment that I turned to you immediately after it happened, and you said, see, that was the best part of New Who ever.
And it was! The bit where the Doctor finds, there's this guy who's being attacked by Dalek antibodies because they're inside a Dalek, and then the Doctor's like, he's acting as though he's going to save the guy, and he throws him something, and he says, swallow that, and gives him a smile, and the guy's like, okay. He's like, so he eats it, and then he's like, now what? And then you just the shot sticks on the guy. We don't know what the Doctor's doing, but I'm assuming the Doctor's, giving him some sort of look like,
don't worry, it'll be fine.
Now you die. Because the guy's, it's like he suddenly realizes that, oh shit, and then the Dalek antibodies kill the guy.
It vaporizes him over the course of about a second or two.
Yeah, and then everyone else is like, holy crap, I thought you were going to save him. He's like, oh, he was already dead. I was saving us.
I just wanted to track his radiation signature.
It's like, that is pragmatic to the fucking max, proper classic Doctor behavior.
He was already dead.
Yeah, they're kicking the...
I like how he antagonizes Clara.
Kicking the guy off the balloon in the previous episode was another classic, proper, old-school Doctor thing to do.
Guess which one of us is lying.
Pretty fucking obvious.
But yeah, so... the premise is that there's these... It's in the future, because it always is, and there's some humans that are fighting Daleks, and they have captured one that they found floating in space, which appears to be moral. that it wants to kill the other Daleks. And they're like, well. And so the doctor's like, oh, I'll sort this out. And basically he's like, so what's up, Dalek? Dalek's like, I saw a star being born. It was so fucking beautiful. I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
Honey,
what?
Elaborate!
No, that it realized that the Daleks have destroyed so many stars over their existence. And this is the first time it's seen one being born. And it realized that resistance is futile and life will always find a way, to paraphrase Jurassic Park.
And it was also having this radiation leak, which may or may not have caused it as well.
Yeah, there was also a radiation leak that was, polarizing the morality.
It's easy to work out why they were in the thing, but they don't actually state why they go into the Dalek. You got to work it out for yourself.
Yeah.
That they were going in there to try and work out what was exactly went wrong with it, so they could try to recreate it. Because the humans were losing a war against the Daleks.
Well, because who isn't losing a war against the Daleks? I mean, really.
Every single force who's beside the Doctor against the Daleks in the Russell T Davies era.
Pretty much.
However, I gotta say, I was reading an article today which said that there is a classic Dalek that first appeared with William Hartnell in that episode. And I was like, really? I had not heard about this. Spending the entire episode trying to work out, I want to see the classic Dalek. Where? Didn't see it. Whenever I finish this, I'm going to the fucking computer. I'm gonna go to Gallifrey Base. And I'm gonna find out where this Dalek is. Gallifrey Base is great.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so anyway, I mean, it was a good episode, and Clara slaps the Doctor in the face and be like, "You're being such a dick." He's like, "No, I'm not." She's like, "You totally are being a dick." I mean, I'm paraphrasing. Because he was like, "Clara, I gotta ask you something, like, for reals, for true." And she's like, "What is the Doctor?" He's like, "No, seriously, I'm just saying. Am I a good man?" She's like, "I don't know."
And I really like the Capaldi's Doctor is old school sharp in the same sort of way that Pertwee's one, William Hartnell's one, Tom Baker's one, and Colin Baker's one would be.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't really give a shit about you. Although, well, Colin Baker's one did give a shit. The interesting thing about Colin Baker's Doctor, the other ones were good guys who were nasty occasionally, generally.
Yeah.
Colin Baker's Doctor, this was an interesting argument I had. The Sixth Doctor's regeneration went wrong, and the Sixth Doctor is his personality was rewritten, and he was a nasty person. However, he spent the entire time trying to be good, and that's why the Sixth Doctor is the most heroic version of the Doctor. He is the one that basically acts like a superhero. He is utterly dedicated to justice.
So he really was the Valeyard of himself.
Yeah, he was someone who was born to be a villain, trying to be a hero.
That's why Colin Baker's awesome, and you should probably follow him on Twitter, just saying.
Yeah, while Tom Baker and Pertwee and all were a hero who was occasionally, and sometimes more than occasionally, a dick.
Yeah.
Which is, as a description for the Sixth Doctor, I don't know if I 100% agree, but I do view the Sixth Doctor as the most unabashedly heroic of all of them. He's the one that's the most interested in doing the right thing. Like, my defining moment for the Sixth Doctor, it was in the middle of his post-regeneration madness, but whenever he burst into a room, sees Azrael, the Time Lord, in the Twin Dilemma, points at him and yells, "Villain!" and then just leaps over a sofa to try and strangle the guy, because he's convinced he's the villain.
I wonder how many takes that took.
No idea.
We should ask on Twitter.
But
Mr. Baker, we got a question. See, we have a podcast.
But yeah, that to me.
If you're Colin Baker, write the show.
Capaldi's one is like Tom Baker's one. He's.
Well, I read the other day, and this was from the Mary Sue, so take it. I mean, I'm sure it's probably true, but how things are on the internet. That part of what influenced his choice of costume was he wanted it to be something that would be easy for people to cosplay.
Yeah, that's something that
only a true fan would care about.
Yeah, several doctors have said that they want the perfect Doctor costume is one that children can recreate with the minimal of effort.
Yeah.
Which is one of the problems that some people have with like the 80s Doctor costumes.
That's pretty true.
Because to recreate Tom Baker's one, especially in the first season, all you need is a red jacket and a long scarf.
And a friend who can knit.
Well, even if you just have a scarf.
That's true.
So, or like a floppy hat,
Hum a few bars, you can fake the scarf.
With Capaldi, you just they got the British style school uniform, which quite often has like a jumper. Remove your tie.
That's so weird.
With a blazer.
You guys say jumper and you mean sweater, because I think jumper, I think like, the kind of onesie you put a baby in.
That's called a romper suit here.
Yeah, well, a nice jumper that's like, or like, you know, the all-in-one like leotard things that you used to wear in the 80s. Where basically like it was just like this
Unitard?
Yeah, we didn't call that. It was a jumper and you basically had like the stirrup pants. So then you could put the socks on over and then your shoes. And then you could have like a shirt on overneath, even though you always had the top of the leotard. I remember wearing that like something like when I was 5 and we called it a jumper.
No.
So when you go like, oh, look at the doctor's jumper, I'm like, that sounds like he's about to go out and like, you know, dance ballet or some shit.
Who's in Flashdance?
Yeah, he wants to jazzercise.
If you're Sylvester McCoy in Flashdance, write the show.
That's my line.
But you're just gonna have to get. It's one of the cultural things you're gonna have to get used to.
No, as well. People saying toilet all the time.
And sweater vest is a term. That's another term. We used to call them jumpers or pullovers here.
Well, I would wear a vest a lot, but you guys say waistcoat, right?
Yeah, I know.
I was talking to my friend Sam the other day at the mall because we met up because I had some of his stuff and you know I wanted to hang out with him one last time, and you know I was like, remember when I got that vest phase? He's like, yeah, I used to wear vests a lot, and I had this one vest I got at Goodwill that was like an olive green, but a muted olive green, not like a horrible olive green, and a lot of times I wear it with khakis and a white T-shirt. And so one day I was trying. This is the first only time I tried capris. So I was wearing like you know just like regular shoes and socks and capris and the t-shirt and this vest. And I came into work and one of the nurses I worked with when I was working at the insurance company was like, "Oh my God, you look like a hobbit." And that was the last time I wore capris because on tall people capris look fashionable. You know, on me I look like I'm from the Shire or like you know. I'm from Tortuga. But yeah. But it was a good episode. I mean,
You know the Northern Irish guy?
Was
General Northern Irish guy?
General Northern Irish guy.
Yeah, the doctor. I like the way the doctor was like, here's Gun Girl. She's a girl and has a gun. And the other guy, are you the same other guy as the last guy? Yes. I think you might be your uncle, or I might have made that up.
Yeah, I liked the girl who's like, my name's Journey Blue, and I'm totally made to be a companion. And then she's like, bye, Uncle, and she's like, Doctor, take me with you. He's like,
nah.
No.
And then you got the humans are so crap against the Daleks that all of these, you know, human soldiers getting killed by one solitary Dalek, which...
Because here's the thing that really pisses me off.
It's an unrealistic war.
Nobody ever takes the Doctor seriously when he says Daleks are bad shit. You don't want to fuck with them. Everyone's always like, don't worry, I can handle this. No, you can't.
What I find baffling is
say.
How can you have humans have been having a war with the Daleks that lasted more than a day if their regular soldiers can't make a dent on on single Dalek armor?
If they have faster than light technology, they can
run away.
Yeah, they can initiate a jump or whatever, and
it's not really a war then; it's a constant retreat.
Pretty much. Well, you can't have a war with the Daleks. You can lose to the Daleks. That's what happens.
But then later on, you got the other Daleks coming in, everyone's dying, and then the general's like, okay, that door's not going to hold them much longer, but I'm not going to make them this easy for them. And it's like, what are you going to do? Do absolutely fucking nothing like you've done for the rest of the film when you're shooting at them? At least the ones in Resurrection of the Daleks, which was very similar to, when they attacked the human ship occasionally damaged a Dalek.
Yeah.
With their ridiculous-looking guns.
But in the end, they basically hack the Daleks' memories. And, remember that time you saw a star? And the Doctor, plays with its neurons, then initiates some kind of mind meld, I guess?
They were sort of deliberately echoing, and I think they were attempting to make it seem more reasonable in retrospect. The stuff from Daleks in Manhattan, where the lightning was used to transfer DNA, which turned people into moral agents.
I figured that because he was basically touching the Daleks' neurons, he was using the touch telepathy that apparently Time Lords have.
It was so evocative of that. I think they were trying to change what had happened in Daleks Manhattan in retrospect. I think that's what they were doing.
Well, I guess that's good. And so it's like, look at all these things. The Daleks it was beautiful. I saw a star. I can see your soul, Doctor. You hate Daleks. I do too. Let's kill them all. And he's like, no. Wait,
exterminate.
That's not what I meant. Too late. Exterminate. And then, so he basically, this Dalek, kills them all, kills all the other Daleks, and he's like, I have...
Actually, he doesn't, in the episode as broadcast, he's like,
I'm gonna go off on the ship, that we're breaking into the ship.
Yeah, because, according to the wonderful interwebs, there's an ending cut out where the Dalek goes to the other Dalek ship and blows the crap out of them and like suicide bombs.
So that might be being used for later. It might be was cut for time. I don't know.
It might be in the maybe the next extended one on the DVD.
Oh, and there's this one soldier. She's like, "You guys are gonna need to get up there. My name's so and so. Name something amazing after me." And she like sacrifices herself so they can go there. And then she ends up with the Missy. And it's like, "Well, I'm the Missy. This is heaven. Have some tea."
And she's end up in the last episode with all the other ones. Whenever the Doctor meets him, and she goes, "So did you name something after me?" He's like, "Oh, I forgot." Well, now it's justified that I'm with the baddies.
Well, I was thinking about this. That makes it less likely in my mind that it's a female incarnation of the Master, because okay, technically, if you look at the Clockwork guy, the Master could have the Missy could have gotten her hands on him and fixed him.
Well, she never calls herself the Missy. She just says Missy.
I'm saying it because this is my theory that when I last episode when I thought she might be the Master, and I'm like, okay, that's theoretical, but we watched this woman get disintegrated into like a subatomic paste by the Dalek antibodies. I mean, unless you can make the case that if she is the Master, she nicked in there with her TARDIS real quick, but I don't think so. And I was chatting with somebody on Skype, and I forget who it is, and if you are, I'm sorry, I write the show, and I'll mention you next week, who said, well, there's an idea floating around the net that the Missy is actually an incarnation of death. I'm like, I can see that, because wasn't the Master the chosen of death, and the Doctor the chosen of champion of time or something like that in the novels?
Yeah, in the novels, yeah. The Time's champion and Death's champion.
So that could be
and the Master was chosen by Death. The Doctor was chosen by Death in the novels when they were both really, really young. And the Doctor... But then the Doctor made a deal with, I believe, with Death, which meant that his destiny of becoming like horrible and stuff was shunted onto the Master. The Master was the good one. And the Doctor...
Oh yeah, wasn't there was an audio adventure that the idea was that one of them did something horrible and murdered a young Gallifreyan boy. When they were boys, and the other covered up for him. And you go through the whole episode thinking, "Wow, the Doctor covered up for the Master. That's so awesome." And in the episode, you actually, by the end of the audio drama, you learn it was the other way around, and it was a young Doctor who snapped and killed this kid, and it was the young Master who covered up for him.
That could be part of the same storyline, or it might be a different one, but similar.
It was a while ago. I used to, back when I worked in Maryland, I used to take, because I had a long lunch, I used to just put on an audio drama on my iPod and walk around the courtyard of King's Contrivance in a vain attempt to lose weight. So it was a long time ago.
But the inside of the Dalek was far from spectacular, and the scaling of it made absolutely no sense, because like, you're subatomically large, but what if you look outside this thing, everything, looks like you're just a little bit small. And then you're so small that the Dalek eyepiece is like some sort of a gas or a liquid or something that you're going through. And then other parts, it's like we're inside.
Well, the Doctor looked like he was about a little bit taller than the Dalek's eyeball.
Yeah, it's completely depending on the shot. They were different sizes. If it's the size of a Dalek's eyeball, which makes him about a centimeter or an inch tall, there's no way in hell an antibody's going to kill you if you're that big.
Yeah, but the antibodies have extermination rates.
Yeah, but the scaling is all off. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing: if you get hit with an extermination ray, you're still made of particles, even though your particles are smaller.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that's just one example.
If you can explain this.
All through the episode, the scaling changes, and it seems overall it's off.
Well, if you have a theory about it, comment about it.
It's like the Daleks are invading the ship. They get onto the ship, and they have they are literally able to kill everyone in their path, and just sort of go just drive through the ship. Yet they still have not reached the other end of this not very large ship by the time that they've all climbed up the inside of the Dalek and have got to the very top again. The scale of time and the scale of size is off during the entire episode. It's constantly shifting. It's temporal. It's like a TARDIS.
Any time that you have something suspenseful happening and you're alternating between two things, time is kind of stretched out.
Oh, I know, it's a usual trope, but this one it's very, very obvious. I'm guessing the entire Doctor Who is itself a TARDIS. It's time and relative dimensions in space. Everything's warped and relative. It's okay.
Yeah, so the end of it is I'm not exactly sold on this new companion guy, but I'm sure that I will see more of him.
And next,
he's kind of noodly. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
And next episode, they were so subtle with the thing. It's like did you ever kill anyone? Oh, I'm very sad. I'm crying. I was like, oh, that guy's a lady killer. No, I'm not a lady killer. Oh, did you ever shoot someone? And then cry about it. He's just like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, it's obvious.
Subtlety, please.
Well, it's obvious that they're trying to portray that he has PTSD over something he probably did.
I know, but they're constantly.
Yeah, that's what I didn't like, because it immediately. I mean, I don't know. I immediately got the feeling that I'm like, all right, if you know, not to be this way, because I mean, I have known people that have gone off to fight, in the Gulf and come back a little bit different. So I'm not trying to belittle a soldier's, experiences or PTSD, but the way that it's presented, I don't think this guy can hack it in the TARDIS. I mean, obviously everyone's experience is different. And if you've been in that situation, please tell us in the comments. If you've seen this episode and think that what they're trying to portray is accurate, because it's out of my depth of experience. So.
Well, right now. Hopefully, we'll learn stuff in the next few years.
Oh, as a psychologist, I thought you meant like I'm going to be sent to war. I was like, I can't do that.
No,
I can't even do.
You're gonna learn about psychology.
I know I've talked about this before on the show, but I don't think it was after we got picked up on Tick with Tick. But I had to lie to the army because I guess they got this big central list of everyone that graduates ever, and they called me up. And they said, so, you want to join the army? And I lied. I was like, actually, I'm joining the Peace Corps, and I'm going to Asia next year. They're like, oh, okay, that's great. And I'm like, whooshoo, dodged a bullet there. So then, a few years later, they called me up. And they said, so, you're going to join the army? And I'm like, look, let me level with you. You don't want me in the army. My eyesight is bad. I've had eye surgery before as a kid. They're like, oh, no, see, there's these new guidelines. Now you can have military glasses. And I'm like, that's cool, but I am really short. And they're like, as long as you don't have achondroplasia, you're fine. I'm like, but you don't understand. I'm really not for the army. I am so fat. And the guy's like, oh, don't worry. Basic training whips you into shape. I said, I can't do a pull-up. He goes, oh, we changed the guidelines. Now women only have to do one, and it's only half of one. I said, dude, I'm telling you the truth. I said, I'm gay. I'm a lesbian. You don't want me in the army. And there's a pause on the other line. He goes, I am legally allowed to pretend I didn't hear you say that. And I was like, I gotta go, so I'll see you later. And I hung up.
Don't worry, basic training will whip that out of you.
Pretty much. That's the time I lied to the military.
I really wish after your line about the Peace Corps that we could have cut to like the guy on the military guy going like, I thought the Peace Corps were got rid of in the 70s. I have no idea if the Peace Corps is still there or not.
I think they're still around. Yeah, because some just got pulled out of Africa.
Okay.
Where the African countries are able, the Peace Corps.
I just think it would have been funny. We'd be like, oh, that's really great. I love the Peace Corps. Wait a minute.
Wait a second. And it was really funny the time when I had these roommates in DC that were kind of shitty, and they tried to convince me that I should join the Navy, even though I was like at the time about only 4 years away from being too old. So I had to call up a recruiter, and I was like, I want to join the Navy. And he's like, why? And I couldn't say because my roommates told me to. I'm like, I've always dreamed of being part of the Merchant Marine and helping and ships and things and subway stations. I mean submarines. He's like, well, what's your height and weight? And I told him, he's like, yeah, you're going to need to drop like a million pounds. But then when you do, call me back. And I'm like, all right. But then I got a better job in Maryland, so it seems to be a problem.
Are these the ones that tried to poison your cat?
No. That was like a decade before.
Okay. Still, they were dicks. Everyone who's ever lived with you, with a few exceptions, apparently is dicks.
I've had some really good roommates, but I've had some really dickish roommates too.
Yeah, and right now your roommates are 2 cats.
Yeah, I mean, I had this one girl that I was roommates with, and we knew it was only going to be what wasn't going to be the full term of the lease because she needed a roommate and so did I. But I was in the process of buying a house, so she knew I'd be leaving early, and she was a nice girl. I mean, we got along, but like. She was the kind of girl who thought that housework was something unfortunate that happened to somebody else. So, like, once I was getting ready to leave for work and I was closing at the store, and she was like, hey, so I'm having a party tonight. I'm like, that's cool. I'm going to be back late because I'm closing tonight. She's like, so could you, like, take these 4 bags of trash out? And I was like, I have to go to work. I'm going to be late. And she's like, but then I'll have to walk them to the thing all by myself, and it's gross. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I got to go to work. I lied, I wasn't going to be late, but I told her I was because it's for garbage. And then after I moved out, my friend Emily told me that she went to go have lunch with her and they got from Burger King. And they were sitting in the living room and eating it, and she's like, oh, where's your trash can? She's like, oh, give it to me, and then threw it against the kitchen wall, which had become like a garbage wall. And there were flies, and I was like, yep, dodged a bullet with that one. But she was nice.
Right.
Although she wanted to paint the apartment because we had permission to, as long as we painted it back to white. And I was like, I don't know about this. And she's like, no, it'll be fine. And so we painted like the whole thing. And then, like 2 months after I had moved out and moved into my house, she left me a voicemail. She's like, yeah, you need to come and paint the whole apartment white. And I just never called her back. So that's how that went.
Okay, that was an interesting side thing at the end of the episode.
Instead of a story from the store.
Yeah.
So
Story from Omega's life.
Yet another week on Giovanni's Trivia Fact. Where does the phrase jaywalker come from?
Still, none of you got it right. You're all stupid.
Hey! Don't call listeners stupid.
You're all lovely, but stupid.
You're all European, maybe. We don't know. But yeah, so that's going to be the thing. And next week's going to be late because we're going to be
named after Bailey J., the porn star.
He was jaywalking, if you know what I mean.
Bailey J's a she.
She was jaywalking, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's going to be that. So for episode Sexy 69, I have been the Omega, and who do you have want to have been this week?
Bearer of cat.
She just kissed the kitten. It's really cute.
Not a kitten, she's a year old.
Well, you know. Bye, you guys.